Who is the best team in the Western Conference?
Golden State Warriors.
And the reason why I asked that question, obviously, I think that's pretty much what everybody would still say, even though Golden State has struggled a bit. But the reason why that's a question that could come up is because right now there are 6 teams atop the Western Conference separated by just 2 games. Right now, by winning percentage, the Los Angeles Clippers have the best record at 13-6,
but they're 2 wins behind Golden State, right?
They are, yes, 2 wins behind Golden State.
Games played is a factor here.
Games played, but like I said, by winning percentage, they have a higher winning percentage. And technically, they're a half game up on the Warriors because they have I don't know how they're working this out, but they have one. They're listed as a half game ahead, but it's kind of weird. Actually, Golden State should actually, according to games back, Golden State should be up at the top, and the Clippers and the Nuggets would be a half game behind the Warriors. But by win percentage, because the disparity in games is there, the Clippers have the higher winning percentage.
And we can both agree that considering Golden State has played without their most important defensive player for a part of this, and for a larger part of this, their most important overall player in Steph Curry, it's not good data to look at.
I mean, it definitely isn't the end all be all, but I do think that there's something to be said for the job that is being done with the LA Clippers.
I agree with that, but hold on, we got to put this to bed real quick. Are you saying that there's anybody close to the Golden State Warriors in the West?
Honestly, healthy. I really wonder about the Thunder. I really do. Healthy, because you were talking about John Wall and Russell Westbrook, and I'm one who believes that Russell Westbrook definitely has a flawed game, right? A very flawed game from a point guard standpoint. But the thing about Russell Westbrook that is different than John Wall, and this is the reason why I would put Westbrook ahead of John Wall, even with the flaws, is because his sheer presence on the floor is such a force and such a factor just on the floor, period, everywhere, because of the way he plays the game. It impacts the game in a way that is really difficult to quantify. It's crazy.
And it should be said that most of Westbrook's teammates love him.
Yes.
And that is the opposite true with John Wall.
Yes. Well, I think Westbrook is the type of guy who he plays hard and all that, but above everything is loyalty for him to teammates. And so when you are like that, your teammates are okay when you take 25 and 28 and 30 shots and that sort of thing,
but it's also worth saying that Westbrook is a very, very kind person off the floor.
Yes.
People get confused by his intensity playing, his intensity overall competing, and his
disposition.
And reporters, he's very stern and strict and sometimes downright mean.
Yes.
But every story you hear, and I've seen Westbrook in person off the court once, because we were in the same neighborhood at one point. So I would see him like at the mall. Just with this girl, and he's a kind person, right? Like he goes to people's kids' soccer games and stuff like that. Like he's a very good, kind teammate. And it's worth saying that John Wall is a prima donna party boy that nobody likes. But John Wall doesn't have Westbrook's demeanor on the court, so people just assume that off the court, of course you like him, right? He's your point guard. It's all good. He's a good leader, right? He averages 9-10 assists a game most of the time, but it's not true, and it matters. These things do matter. In fact, I think it mattered with Chris Paul and the Clippers. Chris Paul had some Jimmy Butler stuff going on behind closed doors. And I think there were certain people that found it very, very difficult to play with him, and it affected their chemistry. Now, that having been said, being totally fair, I don't think the Clippers were better than Oklahoma City or Golden State. And when they were better than San Antonio, they beat them. So that's on those guys to not have the shooting that they needed. to be in that position. Now, I think if they had better shooting, they still lose to OKC and Golden State, and then you could put it on Chris Paul. But as it is, it's unfair to do so. But I just wanted to get that clear from you about having a team that's better than Golden State, because I think Golden State's so much better with Steph Curry that I don't think it. And they haven't even played with Boogie Cousins yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think we don't know exactly what Boogie is going to bring or whatever. But I'm telling you, man, Oklahoma City, fully healthy, with the emergence of Abrinas and the way he's shooting the ball.
Grant's improved. Ferguson's improved. Diallo looks pretty good.
Well, he hurt himself bad. I don't know how bad.
He's going to be back. It's not as bad as it looked.
It's not as bad as it looked. Yeah, but Diallo is huge for as a perimeter defender, especially, and an athletic guy running the floor. Oh, yeah. They have some horses, man, and
they're the best defenders, the best athletes in the league.
Yes,
I think another year with Donovan. Mm-hmm. I think not having Melo, I think that's huge. I think not having a guy on the court who simply can't and won't is big. And Schroeder adding their depth. Yeah, and Adams has gotten better again. Steven Adams is a very good NBA player. I think this guy's an all-star center. He's just an all-star role-playing style center.
Yeah. I was just about to say that, because there's something to be said for a big like him, who can not only adequately switch on screen and roll, but for the most part not need help in the event he is playing against a center who can post.
Oh yeah.
That's significant from a defensive standpoint. That's huge.
It takes away an entire part of the game.
It's huge, So and then on top of that, you got Paul George. On top of that, you got Andre Robertson. And then you got Westbrook, who's also a above average defender. At one point, elite. I don't know, at 30 years old with injuries, if he's still elite, but he's definitely still above average. And
he's elite in spurts. He's a very strange defender in that he's elite when he's being elite. When he's not strong defensively, he tends to be absent-minded off the ball. Mm-hmm. Which is a bigger issue than anything.
I think LeBron does that too. But I think that
LeBron stopped playing D a long time ago.
But he plays it in spurts, and when he does decide to do it,
much shorter
spurts than Westbrook, much shorter. But then
he's better than last year.
But he's older than Westbrook, and he's got more minutes on him than Westbrook too. So, but I think the dynamic is similar there. You got guys with extremely high usage rates who carry the load for their teams and have been for the past umpteen years or what have you. And so on defense, but that's why it helps to have a Robertson and have a Paul George on the floor who are taking these big time defensive assignments. So I still would say Golden State, but the Thunder is the team that come playoff time. That's the series in the West that I want to see the most.
Yeah. If Robertson comes back and he's healthy by the playoffs, I do think that they are a team that's scarier than people are giving them credit for. And I think it is partially because they hate Westbrook so much, they stop looking at the team until he screws up.
Yeah. I mean, that team is just because Golden State has always had problems with teams packed with athletes.
Yeah.
They've always had issues with that because Golden State is not really an athletic team except for Durant. And then
who is older also.
Who is also older, but he's still just insane. But if you look at like man for man on their team, they're not spectacular run jump athletes type of players. They're not. So if you have that type of a team, especially teams that are long and can switch on defense, like Oklahoma City can do. Oklahoma City can switch everything just about. The only time they can't like switch everything, Abrinas can't switch with everybody, but he's not even a starter. But almost everybody else is long and athletic enough to switch on everything.
And we didn't talk about Nerlens Noel, who has turned into a very solid rotation player.
I'm telling you,
and
man.
He's very young. So
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, they can be scary.
Defensively, if especially in a league where you don't face defense on a night by night basis, they could be a real trial for you in the playoffs if they can get used to you, because you can't get used to that length.
No,
You
and
can't
that
get used to
athleticism.
athleticism. You just can't. There's nothing to adjust to.
And they have like I would say maybe 8 elite. I'm talking about NBA elite athletes.
Yeah.
So,
And the thing is, the thing I always criticize their upper brass for is that they would put teams on the court where you would have players that literally could not shoot at all.
mm-hmm.
And they were not being guarded. So when you got guys coming down being guarded 4 on 5 or 3 on 5, how are you expecting Westbrook and Durant to make chicken salad out of chicken? It's
Right.
not fair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not fair to judge that team. Like, they're winning despite their flaws. This year, with the Abrinas, Ferguson, Grant, Paul George, and I'm leaving out one person.
You're leaving out a shooter.
Well, there's Patrick Patterson, even Raymond. Oh, Schroeder.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder.
Yes.
You have all these guys who can shoot.
And they're still not shooting well. They're not shooting great, but they're shooting good enough.
There's a threshold between I'm going to leave you open no matter what, and if I leave you open too long, you become a better shooter than you are.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of shooter that Schroeder and Grant, those guys are. Like Patterson, Abrinas is turning into a real shooter. Like those guys might just get hot. But those other guys, you can't just without regular basis.
Yeah, I think Abrinas is really the key, because he's actually he's struggled lately in terms of shooting, but he's had some games and some stretches where he shot the ball really well, but he's been inconsistent. And I think that's part of the reason why their record isn't even better, because he's only shooting like 32% from 3, and you definitely want higher than that from a shooting guard. Actually, Jeremy Grant is leading the team in 3-point shooting at 37%, and that's 3 attempts a game, which is definitely a good enough sample size to know that that's him. Schroeder, who's never been a great shooter, is shooting 36% from 3. George is actually a little down at 35%, and then Abrinas is at 32. You gotta wonder if Westbrook just needs to stop pulling the trigger on that shot altogether, because he shot a little over 4.5 threes a game, and he's only making 18% of them.
I think his mechanics are off still from the layoff, because if you look at his free throw shooting, it's way down.
Yeah, but it started to go down last year too.
It did go down 10% last year, but this year it's absurdly down. Like, we've never seen a person go from a lifelong 80+% shooter from the free throw line to 60%. That's clearly something that will likely be worked out, likely is temporary. And for him, I think where he just has to keep playing his game and play through it, and you just have to deal with the growing pains of it. Mm-hmm. He'll probably get back up to the 30s and mid-30s and be a little streaky and hit some threes he ain't supposed to hit, take some threes he ain't supposed to take. But with capable shooters around him, there will be better shots for other people. See, when you're playing him and Andre Robertson the whole time, and you barely even have a backup shooting guard or a backup point guard, he has to take those shots because there's no better shots to take for anybody else, because Robertson is a worse shot than Westbrook, right? But now, now that you have capable guys who can hit, he can he's a willing passer. He can create for those guys. In fact, that was one of his best qualities for a long time that people were writing articles about, is the shots these guys are getting are excellent. They just need to get people who can hit those shots, because you have to give up that shot in order to guard Russell Westbrook, because there's no way to stay in front of him, especially with Steven Adams in the pick and roll.
Yeah. I like they're very intriguing. To be honest, if I had a team out west that I was rooting for, it would definitely be the Thunder. Outside of the Timberwolves, the Timberwolves would be my absolute team that I'd be rooting for. But
why is that, Mazique?
Because Derrick Rose and Karl Anthony Towns are there, and Jimmy Butler's not.
Hater.
Just very, very plain. Just very plain.
I appreciate that you're open about it.
Yes, this is what it is.
Pocket, I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.